here's a map of Myanmar. First, we can see where it's located here in Southeast Asia. And here's a map we can see. Let's see Yangon, the largest city. You can see Mandalay and the capital city Naypyidaw, along with some of the gas fields there. It's located where they are located. Here's a little box. It says the shape of Myanmar looks a little like a parrot flying westward. Its upswept wings form the three northern states. Its head faces the ocean and its tail stretches down the peninsula. I guess if this is the bird's head, its feet is the Irrawaddy Delta, its wings and its tail. I guess so. I guess you could say that. Here we have some boats here out on the river. You can see some still homes there. And here's a physical map of Myanmar. You can see the various plateaus, the Shan Plateau, the Central Plateau, the Kachina Hills, sorry, was it highlands? The Chin Hills, the various mountains and all of the rivers, of course the Irrawaddy River, and coast, islands, gulfs, all that good stuff. This says, what's with the name? At one time, Myanmar was called Burma in English. The British gave this name to their colony. They called all the people Burmese, although many ethnic groups were present. In the Burmese language, the country was Myanmar. In 1989, the military junta changed the country's name in English to Myanmar. They wanted to erase all reminders of the colonial past. The name comes from two Burmese words meaning swift and strong. Rangoon became Yangon, and the Irrawaddy River became the Irrawaddy, spelled differently. The only major town that didn't change its name was Mandalay. Governments that do not recognize the military junta do not use the name Myanmar. For example, the United States and Britain officially call the country Burma. Also, Burmese remains in common use as an adjective. Burma is still the correct name for the historic kingdom and the British colony. Yeah, on one hand, kudos to them for erasing colonial names. That's always a good thing. But what if it's bad people doing good things? Like, do you recognize it as being good? I'm not going to say the name of this box because that word is no bueno. It says the Ceylon people live among the 800 islands of the Margui archipelago. I don't know how to pronounce that. I hope that's how you say it. They trawl the surrounding waters for fish. Some also engage in smuggling between Myanmar and Thailand. Skilled boat builders and deep-sea divers, the Ceylon live for part of the year on their watercraft. They spend the rainy seasons on shore. And here you can see more stilled homes here, and people in their boats. Looks like they're selling here at a market there on the river. Oh, that's an inland lake, so yeah, that's a market. Here we can see a Javan rhino, very, very rare animal, and a big banyan tree. This box says, people in Myanmar who follow the Buddhist faith honor the banyan tree, a fig tree that sends out roots from its branches to the ground. The Buddha, the founder of Buddhism, meditated under a banyan until he reached a state of spiritual awakening called enlightenment. This box says, death by snakebite. Myanmar has the world's highest rate of death by snakebite. Poisonous snakes include cobras, vipers, and kraits. Kraits are especially dangerous. Krait venom kills by quickly paralyzing victims' muscles, including the muscles is Shwedagon Pagoda, the largest Buddhist temple in Myanmar. And this is Mandalay. You can see some street vendors there. Big, busy city. Isn't this pretty? You can see this wall, and there's little gold Buddha statues inside these little cubbies. That's neat. It's painted really pretty with little designs carved into the walls. Lots of boxes here. This says, the great Pamar King Anahuata was a capable ruler and an unbeaten warrior, but his death came during peacetime. A rampaging water buffalo killed him in the year 1077. That's unfortunate. There's Kublai Khan, direct descendant of Genghis Khan, and Emperor of China. Marco Polo worked for him. This says Marco Polo visits Pagan. The golden temples of Pagan awed the Italian traveler Marco Polo, who described the city in his famous book, The Travels, about his Asian journeys of the late 13th century. Polo reported that the towers of Pagan are built of fine stone, and one has been covered with gold a finger thick, so that the tower appears to be of solid gold. Another is covered with silver in a similar manner, and appears to be made of solid silver. The king caused these towers to be built as a monument to his magnificence, and for the benefit of his soul. They make one of the finest sights in the world, being exquisitely finished, splendid, and costly. When illuminated by the sun, they are especially brilliant and can be seen from a great distance. I feel like if I had to go anywhere in Myanmar, Pagan would probably be number one. Let's see. Oh, this is during the first Anglo-Burmese War, when the Burmese were invading India, which was in control of the British at the time. So the British fought back and beat them pretty bad. Let's read this box. The people of Burma often attached the names of spirits or animals to groups of people. The followers of Sayasan called themselves Galons, after a mythical bird. During World War II, the Chindits were rebel bands that fought against Japanese control of Burma. The Chindits were named after ferocious lions known as the Chinthis. These animals guarded palaces and temples when Burma was an independent monarchy. Pretty cool. Let's see. There's the Japanese here occupying some oil fields. This is an oil strategy. At the beginning of the 20th century, oil became a valuable commodity. In the United States and Great Britain, naval ships began to burn oil rather than coal. These new ships demanded a constant supply of fuel. Great Britain had to import its oil from other countries, such as its colony of Burma. In the 1920s, several U.S. companies asked permission to explore Burma for oil, but the British refused. They kept Burma's reserves for British ships alone. These vital oil supplies were the main reason Britain held on to its colony until after World War II. Here's another box that says General Stilwell advises his troops. U.S. General Joseph Stilwell gave the following instructions to U.S. soldiers going to Burma during World War II. Here we go. This is from a pocket guide to Burma. Never fool with a water buffalo. That animal is bad medicine and has no respect for the American uniform. My gosh. Soldiers are not expected to go around maltreating large trees, but some of the Burmans venerate these objects, and so a special warning is required she studied the life of Mohandas Gandhi, the Indian leader who preached nonviolent protest. Suu Kyi returned to Myanmar in 1988 to help her dying mother. The same year violence against Myanmar's regime broke out. Suu Kyi founded the National League for Democracy, that's the NLD. In 1990, her party won elections, but the government denied the victory and refused to allow Suu Kyi to become prime minister. Instead, the junta made her a prisoner in her own house. Aung San Suu Kyi became widely popular within Myanmar and abroad, but she was not willing to lead a violent revolution against the government. She called for nonviolent protest. For this stance, she won the Nobel Peace Prize in 1991. So Suu Kyi's NLD party eventually, once the country became more democratic in the 2000s, started to win elections, and then when they became the majority, she became the prime minister. I guess they have prime ministers of Myanmar. But after the 2021 election, I want to say 2020, but I'm pretty sure it was 2021. The military overthrew the government and imprisoned her again, and I'm pretty sure we don't know where she is currently, which is very scary. But time will tell, right? We'll find out in time. Myanmar's security forces number almost 500,000 members of either the military or the police. In a nation of only 51 million people, the government spends almost 10% of the national income on the army and police, who closely watch the population. And very sadly, there's some child soldiers here. And here is Naypyidaw. They're working on the road there because Naypyidaw is a planned capital that's been under construction for about a decade now. I'm pretty sure it's still not completely done, but for the most part, it has been done, I think. Looks like they're heading off to, I'm not sure. They've got what looks to be bread. I'm not sure what's happening in this picture. I thought these were books at first, but I can't tell what that is. Interesting. I suppose if it was food, they're lining up to give it to priests, I guess. Here's another boat market there, and you just float along and buy what you need off of the boats. Here are the Kayan women. Let's read about them in Old Custom. Kayan people, they're the Padang. The Padang people of Kayan State practice an old custom of fitting brass rings around the necks of young girls. The first ring is a paste made from the bark of the Tanaka tree. They apply Tanaka paste to the cheeks and forehead. People who work all day in the sun apply it to their entire face like a mask. City dwellers need less protection, but they may use the paste to paint stylish patterns on their cheeks. I wish we did that in America. It looks so fun. Just have some nice cooling sunscreen on your face. And here are some very, very young monks probably out begging. And here's some much older monks. Gold leaf. Let's read about this. I love all the boxes in this book. Devout Buddhists make regular visits to shrines where they show reverence to the image of Buddha by bowing, praying, and applying gold leaf to statues. Several workshops in Mandalay specialize in the making of gold leaf. Workers pound paper like sheets of gold with wooden mallets for several hours, then place the leaves between sheets of oiled paper. The leaves are tissue thin and extremely light. They must be handled with great care. Over the years, some popular statues have gained thousands of layers, which can make the features of the Buddha's face hard to see. I guess this is a good example here, because it looks kind of like choppy and worn, but it's probably because it's covered in so many layers. Right? You can see little patches there. That's neat. Here's another box. A festival of lights takes place in Myanmar each October at the time when rivers run high. On Inlay Lake, people place images of the Buddha aboard ceremonial barges. The statues shine with gold. The barge rowers bring the golden Buddha statues from one monastery to the next. And here's an altar here where they have, scenes about the various spirits that live in each area where the altar is. Tea time. Yum yum, my favorite time. Tea shops are an important part of daily life for many city dwellers in Myanmar. Many people spend hours at the local tea shop. They read, watch the street life, meet friends, and talk. But if they talk about politics, they are careful not to be overheard and reported to the government. Waiters prepare pots of tea in many varieties, served to each customer's taste. They also set out clear, hot tea in flasks. Tea drinkers add milk, honey, or sugar to their tea. I only had milk. I wouldn't be opposed to honey, but I just like milk in my tea. Just a little bit. The nut that stains. Many people in Myanmar chew betel nut. This bitter nut comes from the tropical betel tree. Betel nut vendors work street corners. They wrap the nut in leaves. Chewing the bitter betel nut stimulates the nervous system. It's like drinking a strong cup of coffee. The nut also causes reddish-brown teeth. People spit out the betel juice as they chew. The telltale traces of betel nut use are dark stains on the streets and sidewalks. Now that's just inconsiderate, I think. There's some rice farmers here. And this box says new money. In 1987, the junta decided to make new money in Myanmar. Suddenly, the notes of 25, 35, and 75 kyat were worthless. New 15, 45, and 90 kyat notes replaced the old notes. Ne Win wanted people to use these denominations. The idea came from his love of numerology, or the magical influence of numbers, and his favorite number 9. My goodness. Here's a common scene on Inlay Lake, the fishermen there. Really pretty photo. There's a busy bus in Yangon. Let's see, this box says to visit or not to visit. Tourism in Myanmar remains a thorny political issue. I can say that again. Many opponents of the military regime believe the junta uses tourism to support its tyranny. Aung San Suu Kyi, for example, discourages tourists from visiting. She claims that the ordinary people of Myanmar do not benefit from tourism income. Others believe that outside visitors can encourage tourists serve as witnesses to problems and conflicts in Myanmar for the outside world. It's still very true today. That's what I'm saying, like, all the boxes in here are still true now. Lively islands. In the murky archipelago, business is good. The hundreds of large and small islands offer shelter from the police. This makes smuggling lucrative. Many consumer goods and illegal drugs stand